right, today we're going to talk about us, a little get to know us video, and what brought us to a dairy farm in the middle of nowhere, Missouri. So let's just start when we bought the house in Heber.
Okay.
And that's when we got married and started having kids. Mario had horses, and his dad had one lone little milk cow. I remember.
You did.
And she was supposed to calve, and she never did. And I thought it was kind of an interesting concept, a cow. I'd never even been around cows. We had 3 bummer calves, so I just bought 3 bummer calves, and we bought an Angus heifer. So that was our first dip into like cattle farming. And so we got the cattle, and his dad went and bought the milk cow, and we took her to our house, and we grafted the calves onto her. And that went good, and I discovered that cattle can be friendly. And it changed it all for me. They're kind of like dogs, you know, they're really smart.
More to them than they just taste good.
Yeah, there's more to them. Anyways, so Mario worked full time. He eventually got his general contractor's license, and he built these great big, huge log homes. They're beautiful. But he worked how many hours a week?
Oh, I tried to get as many hours in as I could. I figured
Probably
if I was there,
80 hours a week. He was gone all the time. It was hard when we had so many kids, and we felt like we were just on that rat wheel, you know? Mortgage payment, truck payment, car payment, credit cards. You know, we farmed on the side, and we never made much. You know, it was just kind of like we paid for our farming habit with the money we made from farming, right? Now we grew hay, we grew alfalfa, so we never had to buy hay.
Small bills.
Yeah, small bills of alfalfa.
At first my dad had a 20-acre field that we hayed, which provided enough hay for him and us both.
All in all, we had over 100. We had 120, 40, 50. We had over 150 acres that we farmed in Utah, that we leased. It was all leased ground. So, yeah, it did start off with one little 20-acre lease, and then it grew from there. Well, he worked all the time, and I raised calves until about 2011, when the economy dipped. So the construction market leveled out. So Mario didn't have any work. It died. All of the guys he worked for just didn't have any work. So
I think the guy I was working for at the time told me if any of us were going to make it, we were going to have to get creative.
yeah,
We
you have to be creative.
We kind of took that to heart.
Yeah, we took that to heart. So after you ran out of work, he looked at that 40-acre lease, and he said, "We're going to make this pay our bills." And you know, he was. Yeah, I'll pause it if you want to go see what's wrong. So 2011 happened. The construction economy crashed, and Mario decided to make that 40 acres support us. Pretty much it did. So we had a little money saved up, and we went and bought a bunch of cows and milk, a whole bunch of calves. And he was at it at least 6 or 8 hours a day. Down to that field almost all day every day, because I remember I was pregnant that year, and he would make sure that the calves were nursing, or you know, rotating the cows and calves. And you know, and as the calves got old enough to sell, we'd sell them about 300 pounds, $300, $300. That's what we did. and we did okay. He actually, you know, I was surprised. And he came home one day. What did you tell me? Thundering. He says, "This is what I want to do for a living." He says, "I just wish that we could find a way that I could do this for a living instead of going and working all day every day and being away from the family and the kids." He wanted to go to the field, and
I wanted to do something agricultural.
well, you wanted to spend time with the kids because
Yeah.
you know, every morning he'd get up and he'd take the little ones that weren't in school yet, and they go down the field and they open the gate for Dad, and if they needed to chase the calves, and it was really good. We actually saw our kids blossom, even the older kids that were in school. We saw them blossom because what they were learning from the farm, you know. It's really important to me for my kids to actually experience that. So, anyways.
They learned responsibility and hard work. They were part of it. I wasn't just disappearing and working.
Right.
And I was part of their life. They were part of mine.
Well, it felt like the farm was a family business. Like, we all, even the kids.
We all had a part.
And, you know, when we'd sell the calves, we'd give the kids a little bit of money. They helped too. So, anyways,
I got a buddy over here nudging me.
yeah, he's cute. So around 2012, I knew that Heber, where we lived, Heber City, was growing, and it was turning into it's a big city now. And it was this tiny little town that didn't have a Walmart, and then it grew. So in 2012, I started looking. I probably started looking in 11. But I wanted to buy our own land, and our own house, and our own farm. I knew that our fields were leased, so it wasn't guaranteed we'd have them for another year. So at that point, we were breeding all of our milk cows to mini Jersey bull. We've always just bred to mini Jersey bull, and we've always retained the heifers. For years, we've been keeping back the heifers, and we've got cows, 3-4 generations now of our cows of our breeding. And you know, and I didn't want to give that up after trying so hard to establish a herd of mini Jerseys. You know, I didn't want to give that up. I mean, when the city said, "Hey, we're going to pull your lease. You know, you're not going to have this anymore." And over the course of that year, I think we lost most of our leases. You know, elderly people who leased us land saying, "Hey, I'm going to sell it." The city, you know, as soon as we moved off that lease, our 40 acres, the city sold it. It's sold. It's got a great big building right in the middle of it now.
They developed it pretty quick.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to go back there. So in 2012, I started looking, and we looked in Texas, North Carolina, Virginia.
Oh, you drove around Virginia, West Virginia.
Yeah.
You looked all over.
Yeah, we went to Ohio, and we drove all up the East Coast.
Nationwide, and I kept saying, "I live in Utah. I don't know if I want to go that far."
I know. It was kind of scary. And then I was pretty set on Texas for a while, and I looked and looked. I couldn't find a place. And then I remember it was November of 2013. I found a little farm in Myrtle, Missouri. And it was a 40-acre farm, and in the add-ons it was a picture of the house and the fields and an old dairy barn. And we knew we wanted to be dairy farmers. We just loved our dairy cows. So, and it had the barn. And all the contents of the barn were intact. So,
They were.
when did we come out?
It was the middle of winter, wasn't it?
January of the next year.
Which was funny because there was still hay on the fields in
Yeah.
Myrtle, and we had 2 or 3 feet of snow in here.
Yeah, we left like 3 feet of snow in Utah because we lived up in the mountains. and we came to Missouri, and there was green grass growing. We were floored at how beautiful, even in January, at how beautiful it was. We looked at the property and we made an offer, and he got mad at me because he was so worried about it.
I was pretty stressed out. It's a
Yeah.
big move.
Well, and I told him, I said, even if we don't buy it, it's a good investment because it was a good deal because the property sat abandoned for 7 years. So we made an offer, and they took it. They sold it to us, and we bought it. I was so excited. He wasn't. So we owned it for how long before we moved out there?
We owned it for about a year, I think, before we finally got fully moved.
It was a year and a half. So almost.
Oh, was it that long?
November, and then August.
We had to make like 3 trips from Utah with stuff.
Yeah, we came out and visited a couple times, and we leased it to the neighbors, and he paid the fields and stuff. But yeah, when we moved out here, I finally talked him into moving out, and we moved out, and it took us 3 loads of stuff, so 3 trips from Utah to Missouri. The last trip, we had 3 trailers, right?
3 stock trailers.
3 stock trailers. We had how many?
I think we had 30 head of cows.
30 head of milk cows.
Heifers and cows.
And then we had 4 horses, 6 kids, his mom and dad, his sister, pretty much a big old caravan. And by the second day of driving, those cows and those trailers stunk. Like because it was what, July? August? It was August. It was so hot.
They filled them up pretty good.
So we stopped at a friend's house and overnighted, gave them a break, gave us a break, and then we drove the other 12 hours. It's raining now. That doesn't mess up the video. Anyways, we moved to Missouri. We moved into this abandoned, old, dilapidated house, and we made it shine. It's a beautiful little cottage.
Hi, Weston. I'm recording. Doesn't stink as bad today.
Hey, look, Mom.
Look at that door from over here.
Mom, I just watched all of the spider
Bad. Looks like it's gone.
I'm doing the rest of the It doesn't smell.
Yeah, it smells pretty bad.
Where did this one come from? Oh. That's where we work on it. Mom, there's a bathtub in here.
Really? A real life bathtub?
Yeah. Oh, there's a play that. Look, a free comb. Right here. Look, the blue one. Mom, look, on 3 bucks. Wow, look at this basket.
No, it's nice one.
It's like,
Watch out, this
play with powder. It's
new
powder.
shower head. That's ugly.
Yeah.
We'll tile it in here too. But I really like the vanity. That's a keeper for
Mom,
sure.
I get it.
I like the mirror.
Put your lights and not ones over there. Move it. It stinks. Mom!
Doesn't stink as bad as it did yesterday. The skunk must have sprayed. What's that, Dill? That thing.
This is like part of the show.
What?
Oh no, you're part of it. Look in here, Mom.
There's a closet. Big closet. Big fish.
Right here.
It's way before. outside when we leave. There's the floor. Phone. Got phone line. Everything. The guy said the dishwasher is like brand new. He said they put it in right when they sold it. They had a lot of milk. They were in a dairy. There's another bedroom. Here's the laundry room. Pretty dirty. We need to clean it up.
Everybody can turn this into a one-person bedroom.
So we moved to Myrtle, and our neighbor showed up one day and asked me if I wanted the phone number for his field guy for DFA.
DFA is Dairy Farmers of America.
Dairy Farmers of America, and I said yes. I wanted to get that information from him anyway. They really,
Dairy Farmers of America is a milk co-op that buys milk from dairy farms.
They were the only co-op in the region that would pick
up our
us
milk.
up, and they weren't taking on dairies at the time. But Rich had been in the business so long, and they wanted to get someone else on the route close to him, so they picked us up. They came out, gave us their spill, committed to us, we signed a contract, and we were off and rolling.
Yeah, it was awesome. Because of Rich and his connections, and the fact that they were just picking up milk from his dairy farm, like what, 2 miles down the road, we were able to get on the truck. If he hadn't been there, we never would have been able to do it. And we dairy farmed for 3 years there.
Oh, really? on the truck. He helped us find cows. He helped us find hay, feed. He gave us references where to get.
Best neighbors you
Dairy
could ever
rations.
ask for. We still miss them. We talk to them like every day though. Well, their son didn't.
Don't tell them we said we missed them.
They'll tell us to move back. So after living in Heber next to our horrible neighbors that hated our cows, and then moving to Missouri where we have wonderful neighbors, it was seriously the most soul-lifting thing for me. It was like the best thing that ever happened was having good neighbors, and I will always be grateful to them for being kind to us.
It was refreshing going from Utah. Everybody was in competition coming out here. Everybody was.
It's like everybody was lifting each other up in that little tiny community.
The whole community, people we didn't even know coming
People
together
who
to
were
help us out.
poor and had nothing would come and offer their, to help if they could. And I was just it was so heartfelt to me to see a community like that. Anyways, so we moved, of course. We dairy farmed there for 3 years, and it went okay. It went pretty good. I wouldn't say it was awesome, but it went good. And we decided to buy a bigger house and a bigger farm because we had 7 kids, going on 8 kids in a little 3-bedroom house, and it was just time. We needed a bigger house, and so we bought. What did we buy, honey?
Bought a house on 68 acres. More land. We built a bigger dairy barn. We could milk twice as many cows in this barn.
That was the plan. We were going to have twice as many cows and grow our own hay because we had 20 more acres.
20 more acres, and we were accumulating more cows than we had land for in Myrtle.
Yeah, we'd outgrown that place, although we loved that place. And dairy farming was going good. We were paying the bills. We were getting by. So we stuck out our necks and we bought this place. And let me just say, the year we moved, the prices of commercial dairy milk, let's just say, crashed and burned. And so did our dairy farm and our dairy dreams. And it's like we worked our whole lives for this. I felt like we worked our whole lives for this. And it just crashed and burned. It's kind of like you go to college for 8 years to be a doctor, and you finally get your doctor's degree, and then they tell you can't be a doctor. That's what we feel like at this point is with our dairy farm and everything we've lost out on it. It's really, really discouraging and depressing. Luckily, for us, we were smart enough to diversify the farm, so we have still been getting by. Now Mario, he's been working part-time building, doing small jobs for people, which has been good. And the farm is doing okay, with the cattle cells and, whatever we can do to get by.